Hello, my friends. Today is the day we are going to practice measuring angles, and we're going to use a protractor. I'm so excited. So by the end of class, you'll be able to identify angles using a protractor. How exciting, right? Let's go ahead and look real quick at your supply list. We're working in that workbook again. Don't forget, we're on problem, I think it's actually called practice sheet is where we're starting today. You could open that up to 4.6. You need your protractor, very exciting, a pencil, whiteboard, and a marker. What I'd like you to do first is we're gonna stand. I'm not gonna stand because then you won't be able to see me, but we're going to create an acute angle, a right angle, an obtuse angle, and a straight angle. We're going to do one at a time. Let's start with an acute angle. Can you stand and make an acute angle with your arms? Remember, an angle is made up of two rays, and then there's a vertex that connects them, the vertex. So we have acute. Maybe you're acute this way. Maybe you're acute this way, right? Less than 90 degrees. Next, we have a right angle, 90 degrees. After that, we have one of my favorite angles, which is obtuse. It's greater than 90, greater than 90. Maybe you want yours to go this way. Maybe you want yours to go this way, right? And next we have a straight angle. This is the easy way to do it, 180 degrees. Maybe you want to do it vertical, your choice. Diagonal, 180 degrees. All right, let me show you the parts of a protractor. So your protractor is, looks like this, yeah? And right here, let me see if I can get right here, you'll see where those lines meet. That's called the origin, the origin. And when we measure, we're gonna line up that origin on top of our vertex, okay? We have the inner scale. If you notice, it goes 0 all the way up to 90, back over to 180, because we know a straight line is 180. We have the outer scale, which is the same numbers, but go the other way, because it depends which way your angle is. And we'll talk about it in a few minutes. Inner scale, origin, outer scale. Let's repeat. Inner scale, origin, outer scale. Protractor. All right, now that you've been introduced to the protractor, let's go ahead and talk about, well, how do we measure an angle? We know that the half of a circle is 180 degrees. From this all the way around to this is 180 degrees. And a full circle, we learned yesterday, 360 degrees. And we're going to use these steps to help us measure, okay? The first thing is, and this one, it shouldn't be a problem. Your lines are pretty big, but when we get moving, you may have to extend your lines, which means using a straight edge, an edge that's straight, we may have to extend these lines, make them longer. When I say extend, you say long. Extend. Good. We'll have to find our right angle, and I'll show you what I mean in a second. Like we did with our Post-it notes, label your right angle, and then we'll be able to identify, is our angle obtuse, right, acute, or straight? And that will tell us if we're using the inner scale or the outer scale on our protractor. And then we're gonna line up our origin on top of the vertex of the angle, and then we measure it. Just a reminder, a lot of my students forget this, and it sounds so silly, but look, paper, it moves. So if you're measuring and you're like, oh, I can't fit my protractor there, or oh, I can't measure the angle, well, try a different perspective. Try moving that paper. I'll show you what I mean in a minute, okay? All right, what I would do if I were you, I would take a screenshot of these steps so you have them to refer back to if you forget or need them. And I'm going to show you how we measure an angle. I'm going to try really hard using the internet and my paper and so forth. So stay with me here. Okay, so my first step is to extend my lines. So what I would do is I would, using my straight edge, I'd put it up against my screen or my paper and I'd extend these lines, making sure it's nice and straight so it's easier for me to measure. Now, you want to make sure it's lined up. Like if I start going like this, is that the way the angle is? No, so I want to make sure I'm following the line of the angle, okay? My next step, label the right angle. Now, we have to find our vertex. Our vertex is where those two lines meet. So right here is my vertex, where those two rays meet. And I know a right angle, if I put my piece of paper, my Post-it note on here, would be this way. So notice, friends, I may have to, I can turn my head, but I may have to turn my paper so I can get, this is my base of my angle, okay? Now, I know if this is 90 degrees, over here is greater than 90. This side is less than 90. So I know the angle I'm measuring is an acute angle. So just a reminder, an acute angle is between 0, well, I guess I should say 1 because 0 is not really an angle, and 89 degrees. So my answer is going to be between 1 and 89 degrees. Now, because I know I'm talking about an acute angle, and my angle's facing this way, I'm going to use the outer scale of my, my protractor. So I'm going to put my origin on top of that vertex. So I'm going to put it on top, line it up, making sure that baseline, I got to line it up. It's hard on the computer. And see how my baseline's not like this is 0, but this is my angle. So I'm going to have to move this so it's lined up. Not very easy on here. I'm so sorry. Move it a little. Okay, so my 0 is lined up. My vertex isn't really on there. Okay, now my 0 is lined up. My origin is on top of my vertex. Now I'm going to follow this line right here. Remember, I'm using my outer scale because it's less than 90 over here. So it's on this side. So I have 30 would be here. And then I'm going to count. If this is 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36 degrees. Is that less than 90? Yeah, it is. So I know my angle is 36 degrees. So I'm going to type it out for you. 36 degrees is the measurement of my angle. We know it's less than 90. Now, what I want to remind you is when we measured, it's okay to measure it more than once. Take it off, line it back up, do it all again, just to double check. Now, something that you need to know, I'm lenient. I give you 2 degrees in both directions. So say I had 36, I would also take, because I take 2 in both directions, I would take 34 degrees, 35, 36, 37, and technically 38. I'll give you 2 degrees above it, and I'll give you 2 degrees below it. What I get, because I understand that sometimes it's not good. My biggest hint to you, make sure you're lining up that origin on your vertex. That's huge. Also, make sure this baseline here is lined up with your angle's baseline. And of course, you need to identify if you're measuring with the outer scale or the inner scale, okay? I want you to try one in your workbook, okay? In your workbook, what I want you to do, let me show you my screen or my paper. So this is the practice set. We're gonna start with angle D. So follow those steps. I'll put the steps back up, but you're gonna start with angle D. Go ahead and try that. Pause your video and then check back with me. All right, friends, so I want to show you how I solved for angle D. So what I did first was I didn't have to extend my lines because my protractor was long enough, so I didn't have to do that. I did show my 90-degree angle by lining up my origin on the vertex, making sure when I labeled, I had my protractor's baseline lined up with that baseline of the angle, right? I identified where my 90-degree angle was and I labeled it. When I label this as a 90-degree angle, I can easily see it's not quite 90, it's smaller than 90. So I know it's an acute angle. Already I know the answer is somewhere between 1 and 89 degrees because it's acute. So that helps me. Then I measured my angle and I got 60 degrees. Now remember, I'll take 2 below and 2 above. So I'll take 58, 59, 60, 61, and 62. I'd like you to take a minute and try angle C now. You shouldn't have to extend the lines. It looks like it's pretty big. I'll put the steps up for you when you pause your video so you can refer to those. And then we'll go over it in a minute, okay? Go ahead and try that out for me. All right, friends. So this one, when I found my vertex, I made my 90-degree. I immediately identified that this is acute. It's smaller or less than 90 degrees. And when I lined up my baseline on my protractor with the base of the angle, I was able to measure and see that it was 60 degrees. So you'll see here, I put the symbol for angle, C, because that's the name of the angle, is 60 degrees. Okay, so it's 60 degrees. And isn't that interesting that this one to me is way bigger than this one? But I need you to remember that we're not measuring the length of these lines or the rays. We're measuring the distance from one ray to another. Okay, we have one more to try. We're going to do angle E. Again, pause your video, try it out, and then check back with me. I put up the steps if you need them. All right, my friends. So what I did first was I found my vertex, I found my 90 degrees, and I saw that this was more than 90 degrees. Again, using my outer scale, I was able to measure the distance from here to here, angle E, and I had 130 degrees. Now, remember, I'll give you credit for 128, 129, 130, 131, and 132. 2 below and 2 above. All right, awesome. Hopefully you're getting the hang of this. What we're going to do now is we are going to try in your workbook. It's problem set now. So you're going to switch over to the problem set 4.6. It was this side, we're just flipping it over. And you're gonna do 1A, 1B, 1C, and 1D. Okay, these ones you will have to extend your lines because they're not very big. And remember, paper moves. There's 2 rays for each angle. So if you want to, oh, I don't really have room for this one, we'll turn the angle and measure it this way and extend those lines, okay? I know it may not be perfect because the binding, that's why I give you the 2 degrees. Try it, check back with me. I'll put the steps up for you. So you're doing problem set 4.6. 1A, 1B, 1C, and 1D. Here are those problems. I'll give you a few minutes, pause your video, and then check back with Mrs. Andrews. All right, friends. I went through, you're going to see I drew all over my paper. This is my way of showing work. So it's probably going to look like a lot to you. First, I had to extend my lines. You'll notice I had to extend them twice because I didn't make them long enough. I showed my 90-degree angle, and I identified this angle as acute. So I have acute. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to type my answers in so it's easy for you to see. So for 1A, I said it was an acute angle, and I had 36 degrees. For angle B, again, I had an acute angle, and I had 36 degrees. Remember, friends, I can do 34, 35, 36, 37, or 38. C gave me a little bit of a trouble, as it's kind of awkward on the way the pages and I couldn't really extend the line as good as I'd like to. First, I identified that it was an obtuse angle and I had 158 degrees. Remember, 2 in both directions. And then D was a right angle. Now, for a right angle, I give you a right angle, so I want an answer of exactly 90 degrees, okay, for that one. So you can look at our answers there. You can also look at how I showed my work, right? I had to extend my lines pretty big to double check them. Let's look at your exit ticket for today. Your exit ticket's actually in your workbook. You're going to flip it over to the homework page, 4.6 homework. And using your protractor, you're going to measure 1A and 1B. Feel free to use the steps on here if you need to. Then you can go to Schoology and write your answers in. On today's folder, there's just a place for you to put your answers in. So make sure you're putting it in 1A and 1B, okay? All right, so I'll give you time to work on your exit ticket. Thanks for working hard. Remember those workbooks, you don't have to do work out in them outside of class. We're gonna use them just for class. Thanks, guys.